Welcome to Mr. Benjamin's Math World. Today we are going to be working with simplifying polynomials. And when simplifying polynomials, we use the greatest common factor. I have used two keywords: simplifying polynomials. Simplifying means reducing a fraction to its lowest term. And the GCF is the greatest common factor that we have learned in the past. Simplifying polynomials, this is a polynomial. Why is it a polynomial? Because if you remember our previous classes when we talk about monomials, we learned that a monomial is an expression that contains only one term. That's a monomial. If you have more than one term, the name is polynomial. There are different types of polynomials. When you have two terms, it is called binomial. When you have three terms, it is called trinomial. So in this case, we are simplifying a polynomial which is a binomial. And by the way, let me say that this is a monomial, and this is also a monomial, and the combination of two monomials with a plus or minus sign between them becomes a binomial. And here it is. And now we are going to simplify this polynomial, and in order to do that, we need to find the greatest common factor for the variables. How do we get the greatest common factor? Just by analyzing the term greatest common factor. Common means that it's got to be in the two terms. The variable needs to be in the two terms. So in this binomial, what is common in the two terms? The letter A is the common letter. B is not common because the B is in the second term, but it is not in the first term. So B will not be a common variable. But the A is. Now that we have identified the common, let's identify how to find the greatest. We have said that A is the common variable. The greatest common factor between these two variables will be the variable with the lowest exponent between them. This a to the second, the exponent is the number 2. And this a, the exponent, is the number 1. So the common factor between these two, the greatest common factor, will be the a to the first power. And like we said before, b is not a common factor because it is not in the two terms of the binomial. So let me just get the common factor because which is a, like we said. A is the common factor. What do we do once we get the common factor? We divide each term by the common factor. Yeah, like I said, divide. And we have learned the rule for divisions. Let me remind you that when dividing, what do we do with exponents? We subtract them. So, if we divide a to the second divided by a, all we do is subtract 2 minus 1. 2 minus, because in division we subtract 1. So you copy the a, and to the first power, to the 1. We know when there's no number up there, it means that the 1 is omitted. It's right there. So a to the second divided by a is a to the first. Second, positive divided by positive equals to positive. AB divided by a, let's see what happens here. I need to divide a and a. When dividing, we subtract exponents. This is 1 minus 1. This will be a to the 0. And any expression to the 0 power is equals to 1. So when you divide, a divided by a equals to 1. 1 times b is b. ab divided by a equals to b. This is the result. Now, in order to prove that your simplifying has been successful, that it is correct, in order to check that it is correct, is not a necessary step, but that's for you just to make sure that you did correct. You can do this. You multiply, this is multiplication, a times a to the second. Why is it a to the second? Because we know when multiplying, we add the exponents. We add them. 1 plus 1 is 2. So a times a is a to the second. Positive times positive equals to positive. A times b, ab. And this is the same result as the exercise we had at the beginning. And this is the way you check that the exercise is correct. Let's see our exercise number 2. Again, we are adding these two monomials. This is a binomial, which is a polynomial with 2 terms, 1 and 2 terms. We are going to simplify that binomial. In order to simplify, I need to find the common factor between them. So, common, the word common shows the variable that is common in both places. What variable is common in both places? The x. And then, second step, we need to find in the x the one with the lowest exponent. But this is a 2, and this is a 2. There's no lowest exponent, so it's the same number 2. So it's x to the second is the common factor between these 2 terms. I already got the x. What about the y? Is y a common factor? It's not. Why not? Because the y is in the first term, but it's not in the second term. So y is not a common factor. What about the p? Well, the p is in the second term, but it is not in the first term. Therefore, p is not a factor either. So the common factor will be just x to the second power. Once we get the x to the second power, we divide each one of the terms in the binomial, we divide it by the common factor. Let's do that. X to the second y divided by x to the second. Again, I'm going to divide x to the second divided by x to the second. 2 minus 2 equals 0. But x to the 0 is equals to 1. That's why we say the x to the second cancels out. Because when you get x to the 0, it's the same as 1. What do you do with that number 1? Well, you multiply that 1 times the y. And 1 times y is y. So, x to the second y divided by x to the second is just y. Positive divided by positive. And this is important to realize that the sign that we put here comes from an operation. It comes from an operation. What operation? The division of positive divided by positive. Positive divided by positive equals to positive. And then x to the second p divided by x to the second. Again, 2 minus 2 is 0. X to the 0 equals to 1. So the x to the second cancels out. Because 1 times p is equals to p. This is the result of the operation. In order to check that the result is correct, let's prove this. How do we do that? Again, by doing what it's asking you to do. Because the numbers tell you what to do. The signs tell you what to do. This is a multiplication here. So this is telling you multiply this times each one of the terms inside the parentheses. So when multiplying x to the second times y is equals to x to the second y. Positive times positive equals to positive. x to the second times p is equals to x to the second p. X to the second y plus x to the second p. Yes, it is correct. I got the same result. X to the second y plus x to the second p. Exercise number 2. Exercise number 3. There's something different about exercise number 3. As you can see, we are using coefficients there. We're using 9 and 18. And yes, we also need to find the greatest common factor between 9 and 8. It's a class we have done before, and we know that the greatest common factor between 9 and 18 is the number 9. Why is it 9? Because 9 can be divided by 9, and 9 can also be divided by 18. Common factor for the coefficients is 9. What other common variable do I have? Well, I have a's in this side, and I also have a in this one. So a will be a common factor. Now let me get the exponent for the common factor. This is to the second power, and this is to the first power. And we said that the greatest common factor for the variables will be the one with the lowest exponent. That's a 2, that's a 1, so it will be to the 1. It's right there, it's invisible, so no need to write the 1 there. Any other variable? Yes, the x is on this side, it is also on this side. So x will be a common factor. Now let me get the exponent, let me get the power. That's to the second, that's to the third. The common factor is to the second, the lowest. And now I'm going to divide. 9 divided by 9 equals to 1. That's a 1 there. Let me put the 1 here. Don't need to, but it's there. A to the second divided by a. That's 2 minus 1 equals 1. So it's a to the first. No need to put the 1 either. And then x to the second divided by x to the second. 2 minus 2 is 0. X to the 0 equals to 1. So that's a 1. No need to put the 1. You do not. Because 1 times a times 1 is a. No need to put this 1 either. So the answer will be a. Negative divided by positive. Negative divided by positive is negative. 18 divided by 9 is 2. A divided by a is 1. Because 1 minus 1 is 0, and a to the 0 is 1. So the a cancels out. X to the third divided by x to the second. 3 minus 2 equals 1. So it's x to the 1. Check. Let's check. 9 times 1, that's a 1 invisible, is 9. 9. A times a to the second. In multiplication, we add the exponents. 1 plus 1 is 2. And then just bring down the x to the second. It's like saying x to the second times 1. Also, it's x to the second. And then I multiply the same common factor times the second term. Let's multiply the coefficients first. 9 times 2 is 18. What about the sign between them? Negative divided by positive is negative, we said. 9 times 2 is 18. There's no a, so bring down the a. X to the second times x, we add 2 plus 1 is x to the third power. Let's check if we got the same result. 9a to the second x to the second minus 18ax to the third. 9x to the second x to the second minus 18ax to the third power. And this is the way we simplify polynomials when using the greatest common factor. And if this was a useful video to you, just please feel free to subscribe and activate the bell in order to receive further notifications. See you next time.